And a good first Monday after a game day here on Birds 365. We got a bunch more for you this year, hopefully all the way into January, but we will see. After yesterday's Eagles opening day victory over the Patriots, Johnny Mac, the Eagles won. That ends the portion of this show where we say feel good about the Philadelphia. They did win the game 25-20, but at times it was a very tough game to watch from an Eagle perspective. What happened in New England yesterday?
I think it's early season football. I think it happened all over. You look at the 1 o'clock games, they were all basically, I think 7 out of 8 or whatever were under 40 points. So a lot of offenses struggling early, especially the teams who don't play their quarterbacks in the preseason struggled early. Eagles among them, to the point where Nick Sirianni mentioned he might have to rethink his preseason plan next year. Long way to go. We'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, not surprising at all. I mean, I said it would be tougher than people expected, but the Eagles would ultimately out-talent the Patriots, and I think that's what happened, exactly what happened. And you know, the offense played poorly. And I don't think that's going to continue very long, starting on Thursday night, as a matter of fact. I think they're going to get things going. But we shall see. Also, I think, you know, I was talking to a former executive I always text with, talking to him about the game, and he said, that's the best defensive game plan they're going to see all season. And I mentioned this, and maybe week 2 will be the second best. And then it'll start to ease up a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, the Patriots have a top 10 defense, and that they will be there. And you know, the Eagles struggled at times, but they were able to get some things going. You know, Jalen Hurts, I think people are going to look at the numbers and say, oof. But guy's relentless, man. He makes big plays in big spots, back-breaking off-schedule stuff. And you can hold him down, and all of a sudden there's a play, and you lose the football game. I saw it a couple times last year, most notably Indianapolis. The Eagles were awful in that game, awful. And he made a couple plays, and they won the game. I think that's similar to what happens when they play poorly, but no question they played poorly. But that's a good sign. When you play poorly and you win in the NFL, that says you're a good team.
That I will agree with you with. At the end of the day, you end up with a W on a day where you know you did not play up to your capabilities, and you have more talent than what you put on the field or what you put on the scoreboard, and it's still enough to win a football game. That's a major plus for the Eagles. Yeah, Jalen had a bad day, plain and simple. Now, does that, oh my God, why did they give him the $50 million? No, of course not. It's one day. It's the first game of the year. I'm not going to take a 30,000-foot look at this and go, uh-oh, do we over-evaluate? No, he had a bad day. But that's what it was, a bad day. He talked about he makes 1 or 2 big plays. One, I don't even know which one you would say. I don't know that I'd call any of them big plays yesterday. You know who made a big play? Slay made a big play. You know who else made a big play? Jake Elliott made a big play. A couple of guys.
Jake Elliott had it. Jake Elliott's the MVP of the game, followed by Jalen Carter. But Jalen Carter is going to be a problem. And when I say big play, I mean, you know, I don't necessarily maybe I should have phrased it differently. You know, the off-schedule stuff, you think you got them on the ropes and they back break with a first down, might be a 7-yard run, might be something as simple as that. You know, when the Patriots are closing in, you have the one drive and they go right down the field and they answer. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's just he's relentless. That's the term. Even when he's not, you know, I always compare it to a pitcher who doesn't have his best stuff, and they find a way to grind through it. Old school pitchers that actually, you know, had to pitch deep into the game, and they would find a way to grind it out, even though they didn't have their best stuff. That's how I kind of look at Jalen Hurts. That's probably, you know, yeah, you're right. 70-yard pick six is a big play. There's no big splash plays, but the term I was searching for is he's relentless. So even if you think you got everything handled, you know, you don't. and
Right.
that's a big part of it.
But the stat that I saw yesterday, which you could knock me over with a feather, 5 straight possessions without a first down in the first half.
Yeah.
They couldn't get a first down. And going back to when Jalen took over for Carson Wentz when he decided he didn't want to be an Eagle anymore. When Dougie P was still a coach, Jalen never had a 5 consecutive possession without a first down stretch. That I just was floored by. I said, God, this offense is bad. And it immediately brought up the question in my mind, something you and I have been discussing all off season. Brian Johnson is the offensive coordinator. Now, I don't know if this guy's going to be the greatest offensive coordinator of all time or a guy we're going to be calling for his head in 5 weeks. But I knew replacing Shane Steichen was not going to be easy because Shane Steichen, you and I agree, really good play caller. There's kind of an art to it. There's a science to it. It's a combination of a bunch of things. It's feel, it's using of analytic, it's conviction of what you believe. He was really good at it. And Brian Johnson's got a tough task to follow coming in his wake of leaving here after getting a team to a Super Bowl. I was not floored by Brian Johnson's play calling week number 1. Now, it is only week number 1. I want to keep it in its proper perspective. This isn't me burying Brian Johnson. This is me shrugging my shoulders a little bit and saying, okay, week 1, not great. Where do we go from here? I thought the Eagle play calling was unimaginative and boring and non-effective. Can I come up with any other adjectives that describe did not floor me yesterday? I probably could. What did you think of the Eagle play calling yesterday?
Being play calling. I mean, yeah, when you get 251 yards and you have 9 Pro Bowl level players on offense, that doesn't look good. So, yeah, they didn't play well, but I think, and as you point out, I'm a big Shane Steichen guy. I think he's a great play caller, and I didn't expect Brian Johnson to be that. Certainly not day 1, game 1. Maybe he'll get there, maybe he won't. Ultimately, I think this is going to be a really good offense, and I think part of it is the lack of work. I don't think it should be that big of a surprise to people. But winning cures all ills. I mean, the Eagles make a couple plays on defense. We mentioned Slay, the Jordan Davis big play with the forced fumble, and that kind of, and we say, well, the defense picked up the offense. Saw a couple columns that's saying that, and they certainly, anytime you score points on defense, that's kind of a big deal. Well, they also gave up 382 yards, and if Mac Jones was a little bit more competent, I mean, he was not the most accurate quarterback in the world, and even down to the 4th down play, if that's Devontae Smith, that's a first down, and all of a sudden, that's a pretty easy toe tap for a good receiver in this league, and that's a young receiver on New England.
Non-rookie, right?
A lot of talent. But that's pretty easy for a big time NFL receiver to toe tap that. And DeMonte, as I said, does it all the time. AJ's great at it too. All of a sudden you got 1st and goal at whatever the 9-8 yard line, and New England could steal that game. Now, part of that was the head coach as well, going for it on 4th and 2. Probably shouldn't have done that. So a lot of things factor into it, but yeah, I mean, the defense wasn't great either. They just made a couple big plays, and that's how it kind of works. And it gets kind of lost in the sauce. But yeah, they have to play better on offense. I was far more disappointed with the offense than the defense because the offense should be great. Not again, 9 Pro Bowl level players. They can't get the ball to Dallas Goedert. But guess what? Week 1, remember what we were talking about week 1? Devontae Smith didn't have 1 catch in Detroit last year. This year, Dallas Goedert doesn't have 1 catch against New England. They need some time. When you don't work in the summer, you might get to week 1 healthy, and the Eagles did. But there's going to be some struggles, and they struggled.
And I thought of you and I discussing all off season about Jonathan Gannon and his ouster here from Philadelphia, and everyone, and I should say everyone, most Eagle fans are ready to throw a parade because Jonathan Gannon is no longer here. And much like with Brian Johnson, you give Sean Desai plenty of time to prove it. He should have scored points with Eagle fans yesterday because they actually blitzed. They brought a couple blitzes yesterday. One play, I thought they brought 6 guys. And I'm going, the Eagle fans are going to love this. Guess what? They didn't get home. When they got their sacks, both of us late in the game, it was just the middle of the defense, the Georgia Bulldog young studs outmanning their man and getting to the quarterback. But other than that, Mac Jones got rid of the football, even though the Eagles were bringing extra guys. I'm saying the old school Eagle Nation who loves the aggressive blitzing defense. Gotta love this. Oh, except it didn't work. Mac Jones seemed like the only big plays he was making was against the blitz when the Eagles were in solo coverage on the back end. Both the 2 coordinators, which we harped on all off season. It's not easy to replace two coordinators in one off season, and that's the task that the Eagles were going to do. I don't know that either one of them shined day one, either Brian Johnson or Sean Desai.
On the JAKIB Sports post game show, I think I gave the defense a B- and the offense a C-. So I do give the defense a little bit more credit. And by the way, I'm grading on the curve. I expect more out of the offense than the defense. So for a couple reasons. But I certainly think they were better. They made some plays. Yeah, I don't care about the blitz, positive or negative. If you blitz when you should blitz, good for you. If you blitz when you shouldn't, bad for you. I'm not obsessed with those particular numbers. When Jalen Carter's beating people one-on-one and forcing the football out early, you probably don't need the blitz. But the game plan specifically, Jody, they're going to see that all year. Quarterbacks getting the football out quickly because of what they accomplished last year. That's going to be one of the changes you see. Now there'll be young quarterbacks. Even this week, Kirk Cousins susceptible. He'll hang on to the ball because he likes to get the ball down the field. He's a tough guy. And he needs to be behind that offensive line. I fear for his life this week because Jalen Carter's going to, it's not going to be good for him. But the quarterbacks who, understand they got to get the football out. And Mac Jones was clearly one of them. That's going to limit the pass rush. But as long as you hurry them and speed them up, and the Eagles were able to do that at times, just not consistently.
Yeah, but again, like you say, Kirk Cousins is what he is, and we know he's not good in prime time. In a short week, I think a couple things played to the Eagles' favor before they ever take the field on Thursday night. Mac Jones is not a top flight quarterback.
No,
he was effective against that Eagle defense yesterday, which should scare some people. And part of it was, they didn't get home.
And they don't have great receivers either.
Right. They made Kendrick Bourne look pretty damn good. And a non-factor yesterday, and I have to go back and watch the game. I taped it, but I haven't had a chance to go back and review it yet. Hassan Reddick, a pretty big non-factor yesterday. Now, how much of that is because he's got the club on his hand and he just wasn't able to use his hands in the pass rush? At times, I was forgetting that he was even part of the Eagle defense yesterday. Like I said, the best push that they got as far as getting in the quarterback's face and or get him to the ground came up the middle. The defensive tackles, the 2 Georgia guys early, Fletcher, Cox late. They didn't really get much of anything on the edge yesterday, J-Mac.
Yeah, they gave Reddick 1 pressure. Sweat had a half a sack he shared with Jordan Davis. Sweat almost made a big play, though. He almost had that interception that would have went for another pick 6. Could you imagine if that would have happened? 2 pick 6s. But you're right that the edge wasn't there. But the edge rush wasn't there. But I do think that the thumb might be a problem for Reddick playing through that. He's certainly not going to be as effective as he normally is. But I think it more had to do with when New England had a good game plan and they were intent on getting the football out quickly, and they got the football out quickly. So again, I always go back to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. You knew going into games against those guys, you weren't getting a lot of sacks because the football was coming out on time. So if a team wants to do that, they're going to limit the pass rush a little bit, and the goal's got to turn. As I said, to those pressures, and you and I had this discussion many times. I can't emphasize enough. Jalen Carter is going to be a freaking problem. I can't emphasize enough, and I said it and I tweeted it this morning. I cannot believe the NFL let that guy fall to the Philadelphia Eagles. I cannot believe it. And I picked on Chicago, and I'll pick on them again. One of the dumbest organizations in the NFL. I cannot believe it's not just them, but them most notably because they had 2 shots at it. This is the best player in the draft. This is the best natural interior pass rusher since Aaron Donald. And I don't say that lightly. He's ridiculous to try to block one-on-one. And yeah, man, I mean, this league shoots themselves in the foot a lot. Certain teams.
And I'm not here to come to the defense of any other team, but quarterback needs oftentimes outweigh that. Not saying they should, but they do. And yeah, a couple teams made a mistake, and he had a couple of red flags on him. To the Eagles' credit, they were able to do their research and say, we think this is a
it might not wear. Hey, those red flags. The red flags are always there. They might crop up. I don't know how mature he's going to be, and if he gets in trouble, he gets in trouble. But man, you know, when you got a talent like that, I'm taking the gamble. I'm taking the gamble. I mean, it just doesn't come around often, Jody. It's not like this player comes around every year. He really is different. And people are going to see that. They saw it pretty quickly. And he played a lot. He played 40 snaps and 6 pressures on 40 snaps. I think they might have undersold him, by the way.
That was their pass rush. It was all defensive tackle generated. They got nothing outside. One of which, let me ask you a question. And again, we get into the nitty and the gritty and deep into the weeds. Derek Barnett, twice as many snaps as Nolan Smith? Really?
Yeah. Well, their intent. I mean, look, Nolan's,
Nolan's a rookie, but it didn't keep them from putting the number 1 pick in the draft that John McMullen described out there.
Yeah, but again, there's different. There's
which is it? They do or don't play the rookies. You can't use and that's why you're not going to put him out there in defense when you're going to put your other rookie defensive lineman out as many snaps as you do.
And that's what I'm talking about. Nolan Smith is a very talented player, and there's a huge gap. That's exactly what I'm talking about. There is a huge, I don't think people understand, there is a huge gap between the talent of Jalen Carter and the talent of Nolan Smith. Jalen Carter should have been the number 1 pick in the draft if you were just taking the best football player. Even any first round pick. The quarterbacks, some of them played well, some of them played well. He's better. I hate the term, and Jack McCaffrey will tell you, I hate the term once in a generation, generational talent. I hate that term because people use it every year at every position. Once in a generation means once in a generation. Not quite that because it's in the same generation as Aaron Donald. But he's close. He's darn close. And nobody else in this draft is close. And Nolan Smith's got a chance to be a really good player, but he's not Jalen Carter.
All right. So, again, I'll try and rephrase the question. Why did Derek Barnett play more snaps than Nolan Smith?
Well, remember, the Eagles like Derek Barnett more than you do. I say this all the time. You don't have to believe me, but they like him as a player. They might be wrong. They've said pretty consistently he's going to have a role. They were telling the truth. So that's number 1. They like the player better than, and not only you, but most of the fan base. So that's number 1. Number 2, Nolan Smith missed a lot of time in training camp in the preseason with that shoulder injury. So maybe he got put back a little bit from that. But we'll ask BLG. I see he's here. We got to get to our first break so we can get his thoughts on Derek Barnett versus Nolan Smith.
We will do just that. Brandon Lee Gouton, Bleeding Green Nation, one of our favorite guests, is going to jump aboard. Eagles win. Stop, take a breath, deep breath at that. Eagles win. The Eagles didn't play well, but the Eagles found a way to win yesterday. We'll discuss all that with Brandon Lee Gouton of Bleeding Green Nation next here on Birds 365.